cars, so you can pick us up there. Good to have you with us. We're on the Facebook page as well. Just to round off the Welsh Cup chat we were having in part 2, the draw for the next round for Haverfordwest for the last 16, Tom, is on Wednesday.
On Wednesday, and there's only Haverfordwest, TNS, Connors Quay and Barla from the top flight left in it.
So that's opening up, so we'll keep an eye on who the Bluebirds get. But let's change the shape of the ball, shall we? And we'll talk some Pembrokeshire rugby in just a sec. But Wales, of course, on their worst run, and they were hoping to avoid that by giving a decent showing against Australia. They were 19-13 down at half-time, but really did slip up in the second half, 52-20 against Australia. What were your thoughts on the game, Gordon?
We were beaten by a far better team. They had 14 players as well, Ben, which was even more embarrassing, to be honest with you. We did well to get back into the game by half-time. And I was really had high expectations in the second half of getting close to pushing them and possibly getting a victory. But things went completely pear-shaped in the second half for various reasons. We had, we just didn't have any cohesion. We couldn't get our hands on the ball. And when we did, we were rushing things and making lots of mistakes and playing in the wrong areas of the field. But, that's international rugby. Australia, to be fair to them, they were clinical. But as I said, we didn't help our cause. Where do we go from here? It's a difficult one. Everybody's calling for Gatland's head. The man, to be fair, let's just put things into context. He came over here when Wales were on their last worst run. I think it was 10 defeats in a row. He settled things down. We reached 2 semi-finals of World Cups. We've won numerous Grand Slams and Triple Crowns and whatnot. He was the Messiah. Unfortunately, that group of players have now gone, and the group of players that are actually there now just do not have the international experience or nous. So, we're going to have to be patient. Welsh public aren't very patient. I know that. We're very fickle. It's okay when we're winning, but when we're losing, we find all we want to do is criticise and get rid of the coach. It's not as easy as that. Gatland hasn't become a bad coach overnight. I don't care what anybody says. He is a great coach. Whether he is now the right man to take him on, and he hinted in his interview with El Gonzara that, he's had enough basically as well of everything that's going on behind the scenes. And he did spell out, and I did feel for him a little bit. He did spell out that he'd given a good generation, 10 years or more in this country away from his family, and did a decent job. Things aren't going right at the moment, but they're going to have the conversation after the South African game, or they may have already had it, whether he'll stay or whether he'll go. It's an interesting one. Who's going to come in? That's the thing, and change Welsh national team with the players we have at the moment. And Warburton spoke very, very well after the game as well. If people listen to him, these group of players have worked their socks off as well. They've worked really hard, but unfortunately things haven't gone well on the field. And he was talking from his own experiences of coming into the Welsh team. It does take time, and you feel sometimes you're treading water and nothing's going right, but you have to work harder. Now, this group of players have to continue to work hard, and hopefully we will turn a corner. But the next 2 internationals are South Africa, world champions. We can't expect to beat them, but let's put up a better showing. And then the Six Nations, we have France, who actually went to New Zealand in a very close game. So there's a lot to be done before the Six Nations turns around. And whether Gatland is there or whether he's not, Wales will be there. They'll have to improve, and hopefully the results will come. But it's not an instant success.
It's a really difficult one. I thought you've summed it up absolutely brilliantly there, Gordon. I thought the position they're in, and I've always been a big Warren Gatland fan, and I think any fan of Welsh rugby should be a fan of Warren Gatland, I think, because of the job he's done over the years. And I think the worst thing that could happen would be that he's forced out. Tom, what's your view? Are you Gatland in now, or is it time to make a change? And I'll give you my thoughts in a sec.
Yeah, I don't know if he was, and paraphrasing Fraser, I don't think he was the right man to come back. And I think there was struggling to find the right players. And there is something about going back to something that you did really well with. How are you going to replicate that, particularly when you look at all the foibles of regional rugby in the first place and the types of players he's got? I was really hopeful that after the Six Nations, the autumn international would come and we would see a difference. And the training camps, those infamous training camps, would come through, and we would see a really dogged, aggressive side that knew what they were doing, had a game plan. And watching it on the weekend, it's like they just lackluster, and not once did you think they're going to break the line here. Not once. And I that's what I really wanted. So up until the weekend, I was like, it's okay because something's going to happen. And then the Fiji slip-ups, and then Australia comes, and it's like, well, is it going to come? And who needs to have that?
Yeah, and I think there's a few things that I'd say. I think the problem is, I think, Gordon and Tom, when you want to run like this, sometimes you can't change all the players. You can make a few changes. There's no magic wand. And actually, the only thing you can change is the coach, and you hope you get a reaction. And the second thing I was saying, you both talked about the Six Nations there. I almost think the South Africa game is irrelevant. You almost have to say, if Gatland doesn't get sacked after next week, he has to stay in place for the Six Nations, because there's no point changing him after the Six Nations. I don't think. I think it's now or never, personally, because you either back him and say he's the right person because of his experience to bring through a next generation, or you say this run isn't going to change with Gatland in charge, so let's go with someone who we're just going to have to say bring through those youngsters, and results won't automatically turn, but we will back whoever is our coach in the Six Nations to take us through to the World Cup. For me, that's the choice. That's the choice they have to make.
Is there a question, though, about those youngsters coming through and how they're being nurtured into that international fold?
Maybe.
What are the coaches getting?
And the problem then is, if you're bringing youngsters in, and I wouldn't say Gatland's a problem, but the record is, in terms of the results, you're bringing them into a losing environment. If you bring them in for the Six Nations with a new coach, at least you've got something of a freshness about the place and start again. I think my hunch is Gatland will go. I think just listening to how he spoke after that game, I think he might well decide that that's enough. And there's a bit as well, you want his reputation. You don't want his reputation trashed. You want him to be the great coach he's always been. It would be so sad if his reputation was broken because of this bad run of results. But it's a massive decision because there's no obvious replacement.
What really disappointed me, Ben, was we've had Mike Phillips on the show. I mean, things that he was putting out on social media, the players who have played under him and done very well. I mean, you can't be spouting off about a coach that you've won 2 Grand Slams with and Triple Crowns just because the team isn't doing well now. It's not always on just the coaches. There's a bigger team, these behind the scenes. We don't know what's going on. We don't know, WRU got a lot of different issues going on, but the regional game, grassroots game, I believe that schoolboy rugby is totally gone as well, and we got a lot of caliber players from that sort of system. That's gone as well. The 22 cap rule or 25 cap rule, whatever it is, I don't think we should be penalising ourselves either with that rule. That needs to just be gone. We need to pick the best, whoever is in charge, try and pick the best 23 players in the squad for a match day that is available to Wales. Yeah. And I think you're right, Ben. I think Gatland will actually go himself. I just got that feeling by the tone of what he was saying in that particular interview, that he probably thinks, well, perhaps I am the right man to do it. I've done it before, but unfortunately I'm not getting a reaction from these boys. Perhaps somebody else should be doing it. And I think he's man enough to actually own up and say that. And that is the measure of the man, because let's not forget, he was unbeaten as a Lions coach as well. You
Yeah.
know, it wasn't only Wales. He actually coached Ireland as well before Wales years ago, and they started to turn a corner through him. He coached at the Wasps, who won the European Cup. He's got a great
Got some
CV.
caliber.
You
He
know
has.
what I mean? And for him to be disrespected the way things are going now because it's not going right, and as I just spelt out, a whole host of star players have retired from the game, and you're expecting young players just to walk into international rugby and stamp their authority against some really top quality international teams. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
It just takes time.
You are right, Gordon. I agree with what Andrew said as well, and echoing some of Gordon's comments, saying that there does need to be changes from regional level down to grassroots. I would say have a look at pembrokeshiresport.co.uk for some brilliant coverage from all of the weekends. Pembrokeshire Rugby, there were some really tight games. A narrow win for Whitland over Fishguard and Goodwick that we covered in the first hour of the show, and we did read out all of those scores as well. One thing, Gordon, Warren Gatland has got a brilliant CV. Has he ever toured Ireland with Haverfordwest's youth side? Probably not. You're the only man in the studio right now who can claim to have done that.
Yeah, he has coached in Ireland, to be fair to him.
He has. Yeah. Have a look at our Facebook page for details on how you can support the current crop of Haverfordwest youngsters fundraising to go to Ireland. Gordon, Tom, really enjoyed your company this evening. Thank you very much indeed. Pure West Sport back next Monday. The 2-hour takeover coming up next on DAB Digital Radio. Enjoy the rest of your Monday.